I know this is out of my normal things when it comes to my videos. Usually I've been talking about characters from series, books, whatever I find interesting at this point. And today though, I want to do an announcement kind of thing. Hence, I'm going to talk about the announcement, and then we'll go into a little bit of history about what's coming. So, as many of you know, I have been doing YouTube for the past couple months, offering the histories of some of the events, different characters for the sheer amusement of it, and also I find that they bring me joy. Not that not that anything else in this world doesn't bring me joy. It's just this has been one of those things that's been kind of keeping me happy, kind of keeping me going with the last little bit here. Now I've decided that once a week, I've decided I was going to do a live stream. I would start doing live streams, and I've been debating what to play, or even basically at that point what to do. So with that, it'll lead to the topic of the video today, and you're going to get two videos today, not just one. So I'm going to give you the Jim Raynor video. I'm also going to give you this video here as well. So with that, Ultimate Mayhem is going to be expanding into the world of Twitch, and going forward, I'm going to be doing live stream once a week, playing Saints Row and Agents of Mayhem. So with Saints Row, we're going to add a bunch of cheats and stuff, just make the world crazy and make the missions 3 times harder than they really need to be. And so with that, let's just talk about Saints Row. That would also leave me for a topic I could save for, say, doing Agents of Mayhem at a later date. So Saints Row had begun its development in 2003 after Volition had just completed the work on Red Faction 2. The game itself was released 3 years later, coming with good reviews and being quite successful. The sequel, Saints Row 2, was released in 2008, getting the same amount of reviews and having a lot more success when it came to the game. Now, and then 3 years. So when I was living in Moose Jaw, Saints Row 3 came out, and that was the final entry that THQ had gotten their hands on before Deep Silver had gotten their rights to the game in 2013. So 2 years after Deep Silver had gotten their hands on it, it released a fourth game known as Saints Row 4, and the expansion coming about 2 years after that. So there was a bunch of DLC that came with Saints Row 4, but this was an expansion off of just it in general, and you got to play as Gat or Kinsey, known as Gat out of Hell. And so in August of last year, during E3 and all that, they announced a soft reboot for Saints Row, and the new title obviously will be called Saints Row. Now, and it is set to be released this year, hence the fact that I decided this is why I wanted to do the live streams with it, because then you can see kind of thing, and if you want to pick up the game, then you can play it and pick it up yourself. The city in question is known as Santo Ileso. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, and it's somewhere in deep south, like Texas or somewhere in there. I don't remember where they said it was. It is kind of an homage to the original games where you take on street games. So 1 and 2 was kind of like that, where you take street fights and whatnot, and then 3 and 4 was kind of like, well, we're a street gang, but we're also 3 was we're kind of like a street gang, but we're not really a street gang, and 4 was basically you're the president, but you're still running the gang. The games are part of a known genre like Grand Theft Auto and Minecraft, where you don't give a shit about the objectives. But they're also there so you can go and interact with people, just run around and even just do activities that are not part of the main goal. So in Saints Row, you start off as the main character, and you're basically being canonized into the gang. You're basically fighting the amount of guys until such time as they basically beat you and you lose. You know what I mean? And you don't do a lot of speaking during the first game, so there's not a real voice thing there. They just you're the silent member, you're kind of wandering around with them, letting Gad and Keith and all that tell you what to do. When it comes to Saints Row 2, 3, and 4, you get promoted to the leader of the 3rd Street Saints, and even though during Saints Row 4 you're the leader of the 3rd Street Saints, you are also the president, and you get to punch again and dance. That is the thing. The game does a lot of customization and was once heralded for that fact, and it still remains quite popular for that. So, give you a little bit more story here. I remember when this game first came out in Saints Row 2, and I didn't know what it was. Personally, I didn't. And at that point, I came out and be like, what's this? So it was when I first got my Xbox 360. It was one of the first few games I bought because I saw it and I'm like, okay, this could be fun or this could be bad depending on the way it goes. I had liked Grand Theft Auto at that point, and hence, now I'm here 14 years later, and that game is still in my Xbox, now in my Series X. So I was planning to I'm going to give a little bit of details on the cities that we play through, and just a little bit, because you don't. Well, you'll learn with me as you're going, watching the stream, or if you're just going to watch the video on demand, that works too. So let's start with Steelport. So we're gonna actually let's start with Stillwater first, because Stillwater is where we're going to start. This is the main city for Saints Row 1 and 2. And in the original game, there's 15 separate districts within the city. And after that point, they expanded it to 22. So the city was based on Detroit, or at least the idea of Detroit, and the city itself is located in Michigan. It is a rather vast and large city split in two by the Stillwater River, which has multiple bridges spanning over it. The city itself had some damage done by an earthquake, and the heart of the city is mostly office buildings, museums, towers, luxury apartment buildings, and a bit of shopping. The northwestern part of the city is basically suburbia, and a lot of businesses are in the south. On the south, there is also quite a bit of landmarks and other touristy things, and a lot of activities there. So during Saints Row 2, the city gains about 25 to 30 years of basically grows bigger. That should have taken a longer time in 5 years, because Altor basically came in and said, "Okay, you guys have had enough. We're going to take over and we'll just do our thing here." And yeah. So now we're going to go into Steelport, and hopefully, again, this is for Saints Row 3 and 4, even though you're trapped in an alien simulation in number 4, they still use Steelport as the base city. So Steelport was incorporated as the city in 1827, which was mostly populated by industrialists and other people, obviously, but the city had been named for the founder Joe Steele. The city had become poor because of the economy crashing, and the city had basically become of slums and beggars. Now the city is broken into 4 separate areas: downtown, New Colvin, Stanfield, and Carver Island. Carver Island has like a giant statue on it. Think of it like the Liberty Island out of New York City. And just off to the side, Steelport does have its own military base with a National Guard right there. So if they ever have more issues. And there's a zombie version for whatever reason. I don't know why they thought that was the idea to go with. The city fell to the Syndicate, which is one of the criminal organizations that runs Steelport, which consisted basically of a unity of the Morning Stars, the Deckers, and the Luchadors. And if you're going to wonder this, the main Luchador is the guy that helps you is voiced by Hulk Hogan. Spoiler alert. The tower that they are working from is the Syndicate Tower in the middle of Lorraine Square, named for the Syndicate leader Philippe Lorraine. The tower was given description by one of the Saints members, so by Shondi, who we'll meet in Saints Row 2. You don't really meet her in Saints Row 1, but in Saints Row 2 we'll meet her, and yeah. And then you come to the realization that basically she calls Bangkok's abusive father. So this tower is basically a giant dick. And then there's one more area that we hadn't covered. So when you're playing Gat Out of Hell, there is a thing called New Hades, and this is basically the town you're in. It's a city in hell composed of 5 big islands and several small ones surrounded by lava. The main big islands are all connected, and as you jump in the air, you can hit your trigger button and you can fly. So the small ones have to be accessed by that. In the center of New Hades, there's a tower and a huge floating building that serves as Satan's palace. So in Gat Out of Hell, you're basically playing as Johnny Gat and Kinsey, because you're trying to rescue the boss. So that is your other character from hell. For whatever reason, I don't know why they took him to hell, but hey. The sky above the city, there appears to be a huge hole which hovers right above the palace. So that might be your escape hole, the Devil's Anus. So I'm going to start the channel soon. We're going to call it, we're going to go twitch.tv/Ultimate Mayhem. I figured that was weird. Anyway, and we'll go from there. So with that, come join me next Tuesday. We're going to start the stream, and we're going to start with Saints Row, the original. And we're going to have evil cars. We're going to have pedestrian war. We're going to have God, Wrath of God, basically the thunderstorm, and we'll see how we get progress. My name is Road Convoy. Thank you very much for listening.